use in DevRel.
Cool. So. Yeah, I'll check it out. I just seen a couple here and there, and it was really just like, I don't know, video clips of like an event we were at.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more like recruiting purpose, probably.
I think so. Would it be something maybe like technically is what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, because I was mentioning for the VS, I don't know, are they recording this? Has it been 20 seconds? We can talk after this.
Maybe. Okay, sure.
But, okay. This is awkward. There's going to be maybe like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, cool. Hi guys, I'm Emily. I am the developer advocate for Truffle, and today I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks of how to build your applications a little bit faster with Truffle and Infura. So just going to go over our agenda for today, just talk about the problems that exist in the space today, what are we building as a solution, and then a demo of what that looks like. Leave some time for questions at the end. So what's tough? I think the biggest part of onboarding Web3 is just purely education, right? So first off the bat, you have to learn Solidity. There are all these new best practices, like, for example, not committing your private keys, for example. I've heard someone lose as much as like $10,000, which is really painful, right? So how do we like avoid that kind of situation? Of course, you have your deployment tools, whether that be Truffle, Hardhat, etc. Debugging, in my opinion, is the most painful thing. I think right now what exists is like console log statements over and over again. So taking us back to like CS1 in college, which is not appropriate for like development work, especially for things as insecure, money important as smart contracts. So what's the solution? Here at Truffle, we're focusing a lot on kind of visual interactive workflows, which are really great, I think, for beginners. So what that looks like is, first off the bat, we recently introduced our VS Code extension, which allows you to incorporate that entire development lifecycle within the IDE itself. Ganache is our separate testing framework that allows you to fork mainnet from like a specific block. There's a lot of different things. I think Ganache v7 came out maybe last year with a lot of new cool features. Also allows you to connect to Infura through the VS Code extension. Debugger is the thing that I'm the most excited about. I'll show you what that means. Hint, hint. It's basically your standard experience now, stepping through the IDE, variable analysis, no console log. So that's great. When I was mentioning what private key protection, we have Truffle Dashboard. That's going to be signing deployments with your MetaMask. So your private key is obscured by MetaMask instead of you having to type that out yourself. And the last thing, I think getting started is just Truffle boxes. So we're focused a lot on kind of boilerplate code for setting up popular configurations. Truffle is getting really big into the layer 2 space, which obviously has the problems of like multi-chain, cross-chain transactions. What does that look like in a project setup? Well, Truffle has done all the heavy lifting for you there. So we have our Optimism and Arbitrum boxes. We recently came out with one about like how do you build a application that incorporates bridging. What I'm really excited about is actually we've been working closely with Starknet to create a Starknet box. So obfuscating away kind of those Starknet CLI commands into scripts, a Docker environment, to just make that experience a lot smoother. There's also one for React, which is a really great place for hackathon. Obviously, today is day 2. I hope you've already started your project. No worries, there are ways to incorporate Truffle into your current workflow. We build to collaborate with the other environments, not so much compete. So let's build a DApp. This is going to be a live demo. Of course, everything that will go wrong does go wrong. It has gone wrong the past 2 times that I've done this. But you learn from my mistakes. So one could say that was purposeful. So the first thing you do when you start a DApp, I would say, let's open up a new, well here, I'll open up a new window. This is so little. Cool, so like I said, we'll have Truffle boxes. So let me just open up an entirely new workspace. How do I, I'm just gonna, does this keep creating? Oh God, someone remind me how to open a new window in VS Code.
Control-Shift-N.
Okay, cool. Yes. Nice. So the first thing you can do is either a simple Truffle unbox command in your CLI, but you also have the choice to open it up through the Solidity, the Truffle extension. So that's just a Command-Shift-P, new Solidity project, that will take, so you can either do the classic like init, but that gives you an empty structure. You can create it from the Truffle box, which I think is better. You would choose like where you want it to go. Obviously not there, but after that, your next workflow would be typing it in. Of course, you can also do this through the CLI. I'm going to go ahead and just show you the React box, which I've already unboxed. As you can see, you have your whole structure here. So there's like a simple front end to demonstrate, like for beginners, how do you integrate your smart contracts into a front end client, as well as here the Truffle things, right? So you have your contracts, that's where you put. Migrations is going to be that deployment file. So this is where you're talking about the order of contracts, whether they interact with each other, things like that. We have Truffle scripts as well. So say you're doing something for quick testing that you just want to do over and over and over again. You can write scripts for that. That doesn't reset contract state, just to keep that in mind. If that's something you care about, obviously, then you would run tests with that. So that starts off in a clean slate every time. Here is a .m file. I'm revealing an Infura project ID because I don't care about that. I can just delete it. Git ignore, of course, we bring up for you. Right here, guys, we will ensure if you use your .m file, you're not going to commit that. But anyways, that's kind of the baseline of a React box. They get more complicated with different boxes. If you want to go over like the Optimism box later, for example, I can walk through that. I built a tutorial of NFT marketplace on Optimism later that we can get into if you so decide. It's kind of long, so feel free to go hacking afterwards. But anyway, so that's like the box, right? So let's say you start with the box. The first thing you're going to do is, what's your life cycle? So you write the contract. Here you have kind of the different ways you can interact with the Truffle extension. You do need to be in the Truffle folder currently. This is being changed so that you can have your client environment there too. But for now, I will reopen it here. So as you can see, once the extension loads, okay, we have simple storage. So the first thing you do normally when testing your contracts is like bring up a testing environment. So Truffle has one built in already. It's Ganache if you want to do that. I prefer to use actually our UI. Again, like which I say is kind of really good for beginners in my opinion. So you can start a new workspace. Is there a way to make this bigger? No, I'm sorry, guys. Add project, so you can connect this to your Truffle config to demonstrate kind of where the projects are. There are different ways to fork. If you want to add here, just add your RPC as well as the block number you want to start with. Really easy. And I'm going to save the workspace. And so this creates 10 wallets, 100 ETH each. And you can see as we interact with the chain, I'll go back to this view. It'll show you the blocks, the transactions, the contracts that exist, what states they're in, events, logs, etc. So again, a really, I think, good entry point for people who aren't used to interacting with the terminal. So now that we've deployed that, or brought up our Ganache instance, the first thing you would do is deploy your contracts. So that would be like a Truffle migrate. Again, you can just hit deploy here. Our development environment is configured for the 7545, which is just a local host. So as it's deploying, now it's deployed to our development environment, which was Ganache. Development is a keyword. So you have a few choices here of where to go. You can immediately start writing your tests. Say you want to test things one-off right now, you can do a Truffle console. And that opens up just like a quick way to immediately start interacting with functions. So if you do something like let contract, wait, simple storage dot deployed. This gives you information. This allows you to start interacting with the contract abstraction. So if you're just here like, oh, what does my read function do? It's working. Contract.write. One. Cool. And then I can just do that again. And so this is a really good entry point just for starting off. Like, did I even get it right? I don't need to write a full test. Once you get to the stage of like, I want to write a test, then you can just do a Truffle test, and that will run, compile new contracts. You can write tests in JavaScript, TypeScript, or Solidity, so it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. Last piece also as well, you could do a Truffle exec. I think it was called like run script / run.js, maybe. This is working with the, like I said, this doesn't clean up contract state, which is why it started off with 1, which was just reading 1. If we now go back to our Ganache instance, you can see in our transactions, we've made a bunch of transactions, the blocks that have happened, contracts. I didn't fork a Ganache instance, or a testnet, but for example, if you had forked Gurley from like block 100, you would actually see all of those blocks here as well, which is pretty nifty. So say like, my test passed, everything is working. What if something actually went wrong? How do I go into it? So favorite part, guys, hopefully the debugger works. I think it will because I said it will. To do that, right now it only allows you to debug into your Ganache instance. In this case, I opened it up through a different UI. If you are creating a Ganache instance, you can do this through VS Code as well, or the CLI. What that would look like, for example, is you can fork or local, just click which one you want to do. But specifically, because we had deployed to that local host 7545, I'm going to choose connect, going to Ganache 7545, development, it's there. So now VS Code knows where to start debugging. It's just another Command-Shift-P, debug transaction. Damn, I knew this would happen. Cannot read properties of undefined. Oh, am I not open folder? Sorry about that. React box, truffle. So let me try again. Ganache, 7545, development. Let's just do a truffle migrate again, just in, oops. And then let's run a script. Exec script / run.js. Okay, cool. So as you can see, it started from 0 because I redeployed my contract. So, yep. Okay, cool. Nice. So this is a history of like all the transactions that have happened on this Ganache instance. So specifically, let's dive into the write. The script did a write 1. So you can set breakpoints here. Where's the breakpoint here? Here we go. You can jump immediately into the write function. So what does that look like? New value I placed in was 1. The value currently is unavailable because it hasn't been set. If I just do like steps through, you can watch it change over to 1. Whoops, I did a step over. But if you saw very briefly, it did change to 1, and it allows you to kind of go through that whole process. So that's everything is like done in the local environment. Like I said, now let's actually deploy to a real test net. You can start dashboards through the CLI if you so desire. It would just be Truffle dashboard. You can also do a Truffle migrate network dashboard. But again, I'm going to show you how to do this actually through the extension. So here you can just do a deploy via Truffle dashboard. And it should open up. Again, this is localhost 24012. I'm going to choose MetaMask. So actually, it's pretty cool because you can do this through like Ledger as well, or other things. So my MetaMask is connected to Gurley. If you want to change like what you're deploying to, you can just add networks as you wish here. I hit confirm, and so I had sent a deployment request through there. Just hit process, confirm, and it will have deployed your project. If you saw in that view right now, it's kind of just the transaction that is there. Dashboard is currently being iterated on. If you've heard of things like Truffle Decoder, that is what allows you to actually see, like when you're in your MetaMask now, transactions are like mint URI. Those are human readable things. So that's powered by Truffle and something we'll be integrating into Dashboard in the future. But that's kind of the full workflow. Like I said, our bounty is going to be incorporating with Infura and Truffle. Like, Truffle is a whole suite of projects. So specifically today, I demoed Ganache and dashboards, right? Or dashboard. There's no S there. They're just brought up in your local environment. So for example, for your hard hat configs, you can just add in deploy to localhost 24012 if you want to use dashboard or whatever host that you put your Ganache instance on. The debugging specifically right now only works with your Truffle project. It is on our roadmap to actually incorporate hard hat into it, so then you would be able to combine the two use cases. But I'll head back to my slides, and I think that's all I have. Feel free to follow me wherever you want if you want to. Truffle Suite is Truffle's Twitter. But yeah, any questions? I hope that was really cool. There's some cool things being built. Can give you sneak peeks into what's in the future too. I guess that was a leading question. But yeah, I'm opening up to the floor. If not, definitely apply for our bounty. I made it as general as possible. It's literally build the project of your dreams using our tools. Because I don't know, I think I'm just interested in seeing everything that everyone builds. Maybe that'll make judging really hard for me, but I'm willing to take that on. So the most you have to do is demonstrate that you've used our two products, Infura and Truffle. So that's just as much as like you can add it in our README. If you commit your network config and I see it there, that's like very low effort. That's $2,500 in your pocket. But yeah, I guess that's all I have. How long did I do that in? Like 20 minutes? So good. Yeah. Thank you. Cool. I don't know if I'm supposed to be in this room forever, but yeah. Okay.
You mentioned there was a marketplace contract thing.
Oh, NFT marketplace. Yeah.
Also, what is Optimism?
Optimism is a layer 2. So are you familiar with like rollups in the layer 2 space? So Optimism is one of the optimistic rollups that exists right now. So pretty cool project. The team is really smart. I mean, everyone in the layer 2 space, I think, is very big brain, especially the ZK guys. Oh my God, I was at the StartNet conference yesterday, and it was cool. You learn a lot, but then they're just like math proofs come out of their mouth. It's just very interesting. But I think in terms of like layer 2, so sneak peek, I guess, of what I want to talk about, what Truffle is doing. Like I said, we're focusing on that. What is really difficult about developing in layer 2s, if you haven't done it before, is obviously like the sequence. There's a lot of differences between like kind of layer 2s and layer 1s. Like some of them are EVM equivalent. So for example, Optimism is EVM equivalent, but there might be like 3 different opcodes that are a little, like you just have to keep in mind. Obviously, bridging is a big problem, kind of all those hacks. And so, again, like I said, we have the bridge box that teaches you kind of how to bridge. Truffle is actually working with OpenZeppelin to think about like bridge standards now, which I think is really important for especially people understanding how to interact with each other. And the piece that I'm really excited about actually is this concept of declarative deployments. So if you haven't done any kind of multi-chain development before, like I had shown in this migrations folder, this is going to be where you're talking about like, oh, I'm going to deploy to layer 1, and then I'm going to deploy to this layer 2, but the layer 2 needs to like pass information into this new layer 1 contract, and it gets really messy, and having to manage that by yourself is really difficult. Right, so what Truffle is working on is declarative deployments. So I don't know the exact format yet. It might be JSON, it might be YAML, but basically saying, hey, I want this one here, I want this one here, I want this one here. This is how they relate. Truffle wires it up in the background to make that all beautiful happen on your own, so you don't have to mess with those scripts. So that's coming up, I think is really exciting. I don't have like a date for that yet. I can also say that probably isn't going to be something that is easily compatible with our other CLIs that exist. So again, I think keeping an eye on Truffle, some things we're really focusing on bringing to the ecosystem, like Dashboard, like Ganache, but other little things like, it's hard, obviously, but whatever product you guys use, I think that's the most exciting, is you're just developing in Web3. You had a question about the NFT marketplace. I can bring that up. Let me find the code base. I don't have it locally right now.
Also, I'm checking out the slash boxes Truffle. Is not the one that has your simple marketplace. This has nothing to do with
No. I haven't published it yet. So I have a guide right here. Truffle Suite, oh, that got really big. Guide. So basically, this started on the Optimism box, which is here. I'll just go over the structure, right? So in the case of developing on Optimism, you're gonna need to identify which one are your Optimism contracts versus your Ethereum contracts. So we've already provided the folder structure to make that differentiation. What is important to call out here is telling Truffle how to deploy your contracts, right? So you have your Truffle config, which is gonna be your base for the Ethereum contracts. So when you're doing that deployment, it gives you like some base configurations there as well. Specifically, we're teaching you how to use Optimism. So this is going to be a Truffle config for your OVM, which is the Optimistic Virtual Machine. In this case, we've already configured it for things like Optimistic Ethereum. Optimistic Gurley is then Optimism's Gurley testnet, and then mainnet and everything. So I don't know, it's fun. Their network ID is 420. Fun fact, they actually deprecated their Kovan network, which was 69. So I think that speaks something to the Optimism team in a positive way. But again, giving those preset configurations for developers so that they don't have to think about that. And then separately as well, in our package JSON, we actually give you a bunch of scripts so that you can just do the migrations with an npm run, test EVM, test OVM. Without having to like remember all the different pieces of like how do I do it depending on layer 2 or layer 1. And so the marketplace on Optimism is super easy. In that case, it is EVM equivalent. So it's literally just copying your scripts over from, or your contracts over from the Ethereum contract over to the Optimism. The bridge box is a little bit more heavy-handed, but that is because we're involving bridging. But the NFT marketplace tutorial essentially takes you through starting with the Optimism box, how do you use this for actually a real-life use case, and steps through the whole process of like adding a client, changing your build directories so that that information is passed over to your client, the deployed smart contracts, like a little brief intro to like Open Zeppelin contracts, things like that. So yeah, I'm hoping to actually like put out more of these guides. I haven't had the most time, but I think building on our boxes is a really fun way to get acquainted with different technologies. But yeah, I don't know, any other questions?
Yes. In some moment in the past, I had problems because I need to use smart contracts in different versions. And I couldn't do this in Truffle because I need to set the version in Truffle config. Is this possible now?
Is this possible now? I'm actually not too sure. That's a really good question. I recently joined, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but I will take a note on that and ask the team and then get back to you. Yeah. So specifically, you're saying Truffle config separate versions per contract?
Yes.
Yeah. If not, I will make a GitHub issue for you. So, but yeah. Anything else?
I had one was from certain things like forking networks to just what Truffle boxes is on. Is any of that open for PRs to accept
yeah.
like new networks? I mean,
Absolutely.
I guess sort of selfishly sell it. Like we
Yeah.
start throwing stuff in there to make it
Yeah,
easier for
yeah.
people
We
to
have
build.
boxes already with like, oh, where's my mouse? Like Optimism, Arbitrum. There's a Harmony box. Not that it's relevant anymore. There is a Polygon somewhere in here. It's kind of a messy page. We're also working on cleaning this up. But yeah, if you want to talk about making like a Cello box at all,
Sure.
yeah, feel free.
All the RSK box are mine.
Yeah. yeah. So this is all open source.
Are all those boxes maintained? Like,
Not all of them. So some of them are community boxes built by people in the space. Some of them are built by companies who are interested in like creating that kind of boilerplate. in that case, maintenance is also up to these users, specifically in terms of Truffle maintained boxes. I can't point out all of them, but like Optimism and Arbitrum, our layer 2 boxes right now will be Truffle maintained and like iterated on, improved upon, things like that.
Yeah, and I remember I did back in the days the pet shop.
Yeah, I think we need to. My feeling on that is we'll probably sunset it, just because there's been a lot of new developments, use cases. Pet Shop, if you guys aren't familiar, was the kind of very first DApp tutorial that ever existed. But yeah, it's obviously outdated. People are probably more interested in building like an NFT marketplace, for example. I guess you could say a pet is an NFT. But yeah, cool. But if you guys do decide to like put in a Truffle box or something, let me know. We can do the review. I can help you get started with that process.
Sure.
And then we also do this thing called Truffle community calls every month. So if you, after it's done, wanted to like hop on one of our community calls and like talk a little bit about Cello and the Truffle box you built, totally
Sure.
good op for you too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have a Truffle box template to share with me.
Yeah, there is a box template.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out. Thanks.
Nice. Okay, so I don't know if anyone's attending virtually, but for those of you who are hacking, like, please apply for a bounty. Or not, actually. Maybe I don't want to read this many projects. But, yeah. Okay, get hacking. Good luck on your projects.